We are long overdue. We've been saying this for a while, actually. We're long overdue for another Malice at the Palace, and it's convenient timing that this documentary just came out on Netflix. Because we've been saying for at least a year, if not longer, and definitely recently with the stuff that's happened with like Trey Young getting spat on, Russell Westbrook, them throwing shit at him, Kyrie Irving. What was Kyrie Irving? They threw a water bottle at him, right?
Yeah, I think so. It was like one of those mini bottles they threw at him.
That's just three off the top of my head. That all happened like within a week of each other. It was like insane. Like people weren't like they didn't know how to act coming back to the stadium. Um, but this documentary, you said you watched it, right?
Yeah, I watched it the other night.
It was first of all a really cool documentary. I love obviously sports documentaries. I watch just about anything that I can because especially if they're like short and quick like that because they're easy to digest. You know, like a 30 for 30 type of
Yeah.
documentary. But yeah, Malice at the Palace, like I feel like now people view that kind of favorably. Obviously, at the time, it was like insane that an NBA player went into the stands the way Artest did and just started like beating up like basically civilians because that's like they're mere mortals compared to a guy like Ron Artest. You know what I mean?
Dead ass.
Um, but looking back on it, like we were only 9 years old when that happened. Do you like what do you remember from when it happened?
So that's what I was gonna say. Like watching stuff like that is pretty cool because it's like that's something that we can look back on, and it's like I was really, really young like when that shit happened. So it's like I remember it happening, but I don't have like my memory is not too vivid. I just know like I know shit got crazy,
Right.
and like
I just remember it happening and thinking like, whoa, that's crazy, and like having no other opinion about it other than that's crazy.
yeah, I mean they gave like a taste of it. They touched back on it again, in the Ron Artest documentary that they did a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
And they like briefly touched it and just went into some of the details from like his perspective. But it was good to like see everybody's side because you really don't get that. Um,
Right.
like how they were saying in the beginning, like, yo, after today, like, stop asking me about this shit. Like, I'm never talking
Yeah.
about it again. So this is it.
Steven Jackson, which I kind of don't believe because he talked about that on the Levitard, not the Levitard show. Well, he might have on the Levitard show, but where I saw him was on Highly Questionable with Dan and
Hmm.
Poppy, and he was talking about it in a way that was like almost like he looked back on it like if it was funny, like that they did that because the one moment from that he talked about and he delivered it in like a funny way was
Yeah.
apparently after the whole thing went down and they were all finally back in the locker room. Ron Artest asked Steven Jackson, "Do you think we're gonna get in trouble for this?" But the
Hell,
way that Steven Jackson told that story was hilarious because you know Ron Artest is like that. Like he's like he's got a couple screws loose. So the way that he you could just see him like after literally beating the shit out of a paying fan at an NBA game. Be like, you think we're getting in trouble for this? It was so I don't know. I didn't when I was surprised when I saw Steven Jackson like don't ask me about this shit ever again because it seemed like he um viewed it in a more favorable way.
I think it's just one of those things where like it kind of gets repetitive, like asking him, like hearing that question every time he gets interviewed by somebody, and like I've even heard him say that like on his podcast that he has with oh my god, I'm
Matt
drawing a
Barnes.
blank. What's this guy? Yeah, with Matt Barnes. He's even said it on there, like he doesn't like talking about it just because like he had an actual like NBA career. Like that's not the only moment he's ever had in his career, and it seems that that's like the only point that people tend to bring up when he does get interviewed on certain shows and things like that. It's just like, damn, bro, like let's talk about when I actually played basketball, not when I had to beat people's ass in an arena.
Right. I think Steven Jackson might have dished out, and I'm terrified right now because this new recording software that we're using, like I'm seeing your recording. Are you seeing that also? Like where it says
The
Day, like the waves for your name.
Yeah,
Do you see anything for New Wave, which is what mine is?
yeah, I see it.
Oh, you do see it? Okay, I don't see anything, so it looks like I'm not saying it. Like on my end, it looks like I'm not saying anything, or like it's not
Oh,
being
nah,
recorded.
nah, you're
Do you
chilling. I
see,
see
do you
it.
see your own?
Yeah, I see mine too. It
Okay,
might
well,
just be because you're the admin, so it's just not gonna show
maybe,
you
maybe.
anything, which is kind of
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, it might just be because it's like obviously recording whatever. Okay, anyway, back to what we were talking about. Yeah, Steven Jackson actually I think might have whooped the most ass in that because the dude who threw the beer at our test after he went into the stands already. So not the guy who threw the cup of beer that landed on his chest, but
Yeah,
the guy who threw it when he went into the stands. Steven Jackson like whooped that guy like
yeah,
big time. Um, and then of course there's Jermaine O'Neal almost killing a man on the basketball court. Literally, and
bro.
they said it, Reggie Miller said it in the documentary, it was the best miss of Jermaine O'Neal's career because he would have murdered that man.
Yeah,
Like, the
and
force that he came in with would have absolutely killed that guy instantly.
yeah, bro. Not only the fact that he's like a professional athlete, would he have completely destroyed him? Like, bro, the size of Jermaine O'Neal. Like when they were showing the clips of his graduation, like his high school graduation.
Bro, oh my God. He's like
Like he made
2 feet
everyone look
taller.
like they were in kindergarten. Like, bro, come on. This dude literally looked like the same height. And then like to talk all that shit, like what was he saying when they were interviewing him? Like,
Dude was
he
like, oh,
called
he
it.
sucker punched me. It was a bitch
Yeah, he
move.
sucker punched me. It was a bitch move and all this shit. And then he's talking about some. Oh, I wasn't scared, and they were the ambulance was overreacting. This man got bro. He got taken out in a stretcher. He was strapped to the stretcher like if his neck was broken. Like, bro,
Yeah.
obviously there was something wrong with you.
Bro, that guy, when I was watching, he was like, oh, he sucker punched me. It was kind of a. You're on the court. You
Yeah,
you you have your seats. You can just tell that this dude's seats were like in the 300 section. He came down because it was like end of the game, whatever. You are on the court after like a fight, and he squared up with Ron Artest. Like
yeah. He
that.
literally went to go put his setup, and Ron Artest just got him first. Like, come on, bro.
And then he's like, "Oh yeah," and then Jermaine O'Neal sucker punch. You're like, dude, it's a stadium of I don't know how many were left at that moment, but it's a stadium of thousands of people, and you're on the court attacking players. Like, there's no
Yeah,
sucker punching. Like, you run onto the court, like people are gonna like it's that's what it is. It's a brawl. Like, there's no
yeah. I
sucker
mean, at
punching
that
in a
point,
brawl.
like it's like people say, bro. If you don't want to get burnt, get out the kitchen. Like, why the hell are you on the court as a fan if you're not looking for trouble? Like, clearly you were trying to do something.
That guy's lucky he didn't get more coming to him because that's like he got off easy between Ron
Hell
Artest
yeah.
not really getting a good shot at him because people came and grabbed Ron Artest and then Jermaine O'Neal slipping. Although we're thankful that Jermaine O'Neal did slip because he would have killed that guy seriously. Like
One thing that I did like in that documentary is like a two-part thing was first they had Ben Wallace in there, which honestly I didn't know what Ben Wallace looked like for the last like 15 years, bro. I
I thought
swear to
he was
God.
like a pro.
Nah, like he's like one of those players who are just like the only memory you have of them is how they looked in their prime, and then after that they just disappear from the world. Like you
Exactly.
never see him anywhere ever. So
I
like
know.
that was beautiful. Like, bro, I literally had to like pause the movie and I
I
was just
would
like
not have
looking
known
at
that
him.
was him. I would not have
Nah,
known
no
that was
way.
Ben Wallace.
If I would have ran into him in like in person, there's no way I would have realized it was him.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, no
But
way in hell I would have recognized Ben Wallace like on the street. Other than like I would have been like, this might be somebody because he's 6'10".
I definitely would have said like he looks familiar because his face in general like doesn't look much different. Obviously, he has
Right.
like facial hair now, like he has a beard and he got
He
some
was
grays
wearing
in
a
there.
hat too in the interview, so that was like kind
Yeah,
of hiding his face a little bit.
it would have had to been one of those cases where like we're at a restaurant and like I have a chance to continue looking at him to where I would have put it together, but not like just passing by him. But
I'm
ooh,
surprised Ben Wallace was in that doc. Like,
for real, because he's literally never a part of anything that has to do with the NBA anymore.
and not only that, you would have thought that it would have been just like a Pacers because it was executive produced by Jermaine O'Neal, so this
Hmm.
was an opportunity for them to kind of tell their side and clear the air and
Yeah,
um, I don't want to say proclaim their innocence because I think today most people agree. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like most people agree that the fans were in the wrong and you know the Pacers players were justified in what they were doing.
yeah, but
Obviously,
like
maybe
it's kind of like how they showed in the doc. how Jermaine O'Neal appealed his case, and then they all went back and tried to appeal their shit. And Jermaine O'Neal was pretty much the only one who was like successful in appealing it. But they pretty much just said like, what they were doing was defending themselves.
Right.
If anything, they took some time off of like their sentences that they were going to get like from their criminal charges or whatever.
Well, the criminal
So that, I
stuff,
mean,
I
that
said,
helped.
yeah, the suspensions is what they appeal, because the criminal stuff in the documentary, they said that, like, they had the prosecutor and everything, and was like, no, these guys were in the right, like they had the right to
Yeah,
defend themselves the way they did. So criminally, they were like, which at the time, I don't remember that ever being a thing people spoke about. Like, oh,
yeah,
this is a criminal case, and they were found
yeah,
completely innocent. Because that's not how it works in sports. Like in sports, they have their own rules, and they discipline you basically however they want. And they talked about in the
exactly.
documentary how, oh, they asked David Stern, was the decision to suspend them for this long unanimous, and he's like, yeah, 1-0, like it's his decision only. Um,
Yeah,
which I thought that was interesting, and something that it seems like a lot of people forgot about, because I certainly did, or wasn't even really aware of it, that criminally there was no there was no punishment, because they were
hmm,
found to have done nothing wrong from a criminal
yeah,
perspective, which is crazy. And to me, it reinforces the idea that, like, yeah, they were just, maybe not justified in what they did is the word, but like they didn't do anything wrong. Certainly not
yeah.
Jermaine O'Neal and Steven Jackson. Ron Artest,
Nah,
I mean, I'm not going to say he was wrong for going into the stands, but the fact that he went in and got the wrong guy by accident kind of shows you why maybe he shouldn't have done that. But again, I
yeah,
understand you just got a beer thrown on you. That's not an unreasonable reaction, I don't think, to try to go after the person who just attacked you, because not only is it blatant disrespect, somebody throwing a beer at you, that is technically an attack.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like, when I was bringing up Ben Wallace, the point that I wanted to make was that, like he said in the documentary, the fans inserted them that like they inserted themselves into this issue, like where it really wasn't an issue. Like, if anything, like I'm friends with these guys off the court. Like
Yes,
it was kind of just like a back and forth between guys when you play basketball. Like sometimes it happens. It doesn't mean you guys actually want to fight each other, but
right,
like you have some words for each other.
right.
Instead, in this case, the fans just got too involved and created it and like made it something that it never should have been, because it really wasn't that serious. Like, yeah, in the moment they were mad or whatever, but realistically, like they weren't gonna go look for each other in the locker room, or you know what I'm saying? Like they weren't gonna take it any further than just some words exchanged on the court or like some shoving. And even Reggie Miller said the same thing. Like it just happens, bro. Like sometimes guys get into shoving matches and they get pulled apart, and that's it. You go to the locker room, game's over.
Yeah, so on Twitter, people were talking about, everyone on Twitter, of course, when this came out, the one that I saw was Colin Cowherd basically saying that the Pacers were in the right to do what they did. They did nothing wrong, which of
Hmm.
course sparked a huge debate amongst people who follow him, and just people on Twitter in general. Um, and everybody was saying, like, oh, it's really Ben Wallace's fault because he pushed Ron Artest first. That was unnecessary. And oh, well, it was Ron Artest's fault because he fouled him and he was laying on the scorer's table after.
Hmm.
Oh, but it was the Pacers coach's fault because why do they even have their starters in the, like, people were assigning all this blame to shit that
Yeah,
happened. Dude, like, that's everything that we just said right now is basketball. Like, that's
yeah. It's
basketball
just
and
all
it's sport.
basketball.
Hard fouls, that happens all the time in basketball. Getting pissed off and shoving someone after a hard foul, that's basketball. Ron Artest laying on the scorer's table, like, you know, cocky, maybe, a little bit like disrespectful to the Pacers, but I mean to the Pistons, but still basketball, I think. It's not until the fan throws a beer from like 10, 12 rows up, that's
Hmm.
when it becomes, that's nothing to do with sports. That's not something that ever was, will be, or should be allowed. So
Yeah.
that's where the turning point is for me.
And one thing that like they touch on a little bit, but in order for people to understand, you really have to watch that separate documentary, which I don't even remember the name, but it's the Ron Artest documentary, and I think it's on like
It was the
Showtime.
35th. Oh, it was a Showtime one. I thought it was the 31st.
Yeah, it was on Showtime, and they pretty much followed him like from from high school, going to St. John's and all that. and then his journey into the NBA, and then winning championships later on and all that shit. But the entire time he's battling a mental disease. So he even said in that documentary, like he touched on it a little bit, but in the other one, like he goes more in detail. And what it was is that he's so used to like chaos and like crazy shit. So whenever he does get like overly excited, even when it's like a good basketball player, like something, it's good excitement. He has like he loses control of what those emotions are, and he just starts to snap. So like in
Right.
that moment, he even said in the doc where like I laid on the table like for my own good. Like I was
Yeah. The
counting to
one, two.
5 and breathing
Exactly.
and so like it came off disrespectfully and like he laughs, but like realistically he was trying to avoid what ended up happening anyways. Like he was trying to avoid
Right.
himself getting to that point where the fans inserted themselves and the rest is history. But
But
I
even
think
like we both agreed, it's a little. It might, you could say that it's disrespectful for him to have laid on the scores table like that. But the only person or people who should have been disrespected by it was it's like it's all on the court,
yeah,
it's to
it's
the
all in the
other
court.
team, not to the fans for you to throw a beer. Like everything that happened up until the beer gets thrown is just a part of sports, a part of basketball, especially at the professional level where
Hmm.
guys, they're grown men and they have, like these disputes. And it was, who was it that said it? I think Reggie Miller, I think Steven Jackson, I think they all said it. Like, dude, these guys are friends for the most part. Like, and even if they're
Yeah,
not friends, they're part of the same league. So nobody really wants to fight. It's just this
yeah,
one moment
they're
that
making a check regardless.
right, exactly. So there's just like, that's why I keep saying like it's part of basketball. And anybody who thinks that the stuff that happened before the beer thrown is the cause of what started that whole situation is crazy. Because if that was the case, like this, like the hard foul on Ben Wallace pushing Ron Artest happens multiple times every single season. You
Yeah,
can go on YouTube, and if you look up 2021 NBA fights, that's all you'll see: a hard foul, and then the guy pushes the other guy. He gets mad.
facts.
That happens constantly, like multiple times throughout the season. And it's not until the fans insert themselves and get involved that shit gets really crazy. And I've been saying like we need a new one because um, I've been saying that we need a new one because like, dude, these fans were out of control this past season. Like the uh the spitting on Trey Young,
Yeah,
the water
it's too
bottle to
much.
Kyrie. It's like these people need to be. I don't know what I mean. Obviously it's irresponsible to say that there should be another Malice in the Palace. I say that like kind of jokingly, but at the same time, like people need to understand, like just because you bought a ticket and you're sitting in those seats does not give you the right to do whatever you want. Like
Yeah,
you are
I
talking
mean,
to a person that will beat your ass just off of the size and athleticism, and in a normal situation,
you
they
wouldn't do that
would.
to them.
They wouldn't, exactly.
Yeah,
They
you
wouldn't
wouldn't even do
because
what
they
you just
would,
did.
right. Because if you did, what would happen? They know.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like I was even saying that a few years ago when the Heat were in the playoffs against the Hornets, and the purple shirt guy who had the courtside seats like kept getting up and getting on the court and like getting in Dwayne Wade's face and like talking shit to him, and then he came down to Miami and bought courtside seats and like was trying to do the same shit. And then I mean eventually the league banned him from buying courtside seats, but but like, bro, like at some point, UD is gonna have to come up to him and strangle him because, like, bro, you're getting onto the court now. This is the player's safe space. Like, your seat is you can do whatever you want here. So you can talk shit, do what you want. But as soon as you step foot onto that court, it's a clip. Or as soon as you put something onto the court, that what I'm saying, like, that's it. It's over for you. You should like the first time he stepped foot onto the court he should have been escorted out of the arena. There's no
Yeah.
reason for you to be getting on the court acting like you're a part of the game or any of that. Like, bro, it's time to go home. That's it.
I thought it was crazy how so many people, like, they're showing like the news reports from um during that time when all that went down. And besides the like pretty overt racist tones that were involved in that whole situation.
Yeah.
Um, I just don't understand how people at the time were saying like the NBA needs to control its players because of the league image. What about your fans? Like, like these are the kind of fans you want that are there throwing stuff at
Exactly.
players and running onto the court to fight them. Like, I couldn't understand why. And of course, we're looking back in hindsight, but it seemed crazy to me that they're like, well, this one fan threw a beer at someone, and then when Ron Artest went in, more fans started throwing beer at him, sucker
Mhm.
punching him from behind. Then after he came out of the stands, there's more fans, different fans from more, the ones that were involved in that situation who are
Yeah.
now on the court. And then as they're leaving the court, there's again a different group of fans. So you've got all these different fans doing all this stuff. The last one being the ones throwing the beer and the popcorn and the chair. Um, I couldn't understand how people back then were like, oh, the players and the league's image and this and that. Like, okay, if you're worried
Yeah.
about the league's image, these fans were already there at the game. So
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying this too. Like, you're definitely right. Like, if you're gonna blame anybody, it's the fan who threw the beer, number one, and then the rest of the fans who joined in. But also security. Like, at what point does security decide to step in?
well, they were saying in the doc that like there basically was none. Like nowadays, you
Yeah,
go to
like,
any basketball game, football game, there's police all over the place.
yeah, but like, it shouldn't have taken something like that to like consider. Like, yeah, we might need to have security when we have thousands and thousands of people in an arena with literally millionaires playing basketball in front of them.
Right.
Because you
No, I
never know what
agree.
can happen, especially with like people drinking and shit. And they were even saying like, I don't know if it was the coach or some shit like that, but they were saying how one of the guys that got involved, like they were already gonna let him know that night that like they were revoking his season tickets because
Yeah.
he had so many incidents too. So it's
Right.
just like, at what point do you take it to the next level and like make sure that everyone is safe? It's not even just like about making sure the players are safe or whatever. It's just in case anything could happen. Let's have some people in here with some power, with some people with some with some fire in their pocket, just in case.
Yeah. I Yeah, it was crazy. That was such a telling part of the documentary too. Was like, yeah, one of the guys who was heavily involved in this, we were already thinking of revoking his season ticket. So it just goes to show you like how bad it really was. But
And
man,
and, and at that point, like at that point in the NBA too, it was such like that was like the perfect thing to happen um for David Stern, because the NBA was already kind of like hinting to players like, hey, if you guys don't relax, like, I'm gonna take away your freedom of being able to be yourselves and blah blah
right,
blah.
the
And they
dress
kept like,
code.
exactly, they just kept pushing that and like talking, it was always, different jabs being thrown at Allen Iversons and, those players that weren't the mold of what they wanted the NBA to be and what the NBA might have been in the past. But I mean, but as
Yeah,
you see, all those guys and anyone moving forward, they've already pretty much cleared all those guys out, or they've never allowed another person like that to enter the NBA. Everybody who's coming into the NBA now is pretty much like cookie cutter what they think is should be in the league.
yeah.
UD and a few other to name, those are like the last of a dying breed that are still that are still in the NBA.
Um, there was a clip from that documentary where Ben Wallace is walking to the locker room before that
Hmm.
game, Malice at the Palace, and it was so like it was such a nostalgic clip from that era because he walked in, throw out, he had his big sweater on, the baggy jeans. I was like, man, like that took you back to 2004, like that era when
Facts.
people, it was very, it seemed like like the NBA was, and still is obviously, but at that time it was different, influenced by like hip hop culture, and that's what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Like David Stern didn't like that. I feel
Yeah.
like
And it
now
was
because hip hop culture is different, it's like more acceptable. Like it's more like with
yeah.
the fashion and stuff like that. Back then it was a little bit different. It's what people they would call like that's why they when they show all the news people talking about it after, the word that gets thrown around so much was thug. That was like
Yeah.
why they now a dress code you can't dress like that because because you dress away that's you know you're dressing like a thug, which was, obviously ridiculous. But
Yeah, and the issue now is that a lot of these and why some of these rules they're obviously still in place, but they're much more lax. Like they don't enforce them as heavily now. I mean, there's a number of things that are reasoned for it. One being that a lot of the children of some of those guys that made the rules and the kids of team owners and shit like that going to the games like that's how they dress, or people who work on these organizations like that's how they dress. So
right,
it's like you kind of gotta at a certain point you let so many people get by with it where it just has to be generally just it's done. But then again, like you said, like hip hop is also taken a turn in what fashion is, so it's no longer like baggy ass clothes where I mean there are still a few that do it, but it's not as prominent anymore. Now it's high fashion with big names and just a lot of jewelry and shit, and it looks a
yeah.
lot cleaner than it did then. So they're just like, hey, you know what? Go ahead, do what you want.
I think, yeah, what to like piggyback off of what you're saying is back then, like the hip hop type of culture, fashion, what have you, was a lot more distinguishable from what was the normal, culture, fashion, whatever you want to call it, like pop culture. Like I feel like
Yeah,
now pop culture and hip hop culture are more like blended together, like one and the same. And that's what you're
yeah,
saying. Like, somebody like a hip hop artist might dress the same as like an entrepreneur, so like some random, like, non,
exactly.
like something totally non hip hop related, whereas before it was like very distinguishable. Now
Hmm.
it's like everything's kind of blended together, so it's not the way it was. But um one more thing on that documentary, dude, I had no idea like how badly that whole situation affected Jermaine O'Neal. Like I had no idea about that until I watched that
Yeah,
documentary.
I never took that into account because it is true. Like he ended up not even getting a championship at the end of his career,
Right. And he was
and
chasing it too. Because he was like on the Celtics at one point. He was with the Miami Heat. Um,
yeah,
Steven Jackson won with the Spurs in '03. Ron Artest won with
hmm
the Lakers in 2008 or 9, whenever it was.
yeah.
Well, he won two, didn't he, Ron Artest with
I
the
think he
Lakers?
I think he did win too. I think he did win too. Let me tell you now.
And it was sad to see Ron Artest after the Lakers won that championship.
Yeah,
It was
I
sad to
definitely
see.
remember that.
It was sad to see him be like, I feel bad for my brothers, Jermaine O'Neal, Steven Jackson, you know, the people from the Pacers organization who, because of what happened, and that, like, I felt bad to see that. I feel like Ron Artest genuinely feels that, like, I feel like he thinks he should not have gone into the stands, because in hindsight he's looking back like a whole lot of bullshit would have been avoided had I not gone in. No matter how
Yeah,
deserving the guy who threw the beer was of, especially because they show the guy doing interviews after where they're like, oh, what's going through your mind when Ron Artest is going past you and going to the wrong person? He was like, oh, I was relieved. I should have stuck my leg out and tripped him, or like the guy was such a douche about the whole thing.
yeah.
It's a shame he didn't get his ass beat, but
Seriously,
um,
that's the one thing that I could say that everyone, all the players involved, probably have that regret right now is not beating that guy's ass out of everyone.
But yeah, man, Jermaine O'Neal, I had never thought about that. Like that really affected his career in a negative way, and he's not known for, like, he's not known, or he's not as associated with Malice at the Palace as Ron Artest and Steven Jackson were.
Hmm.
But he's like number three involved in that, and like Ron Artest went to a different team, and like the whole Meta World piece, and he won a championship, and he's kind of like not put it behind him, but distanced himself from it. And Steven Jackson has, I don't want to say embraced it, but he's he kept that whole tough guy, like, his
Yeah,
podcast, for God's sakes, is called All the Smoke. Like he
yeah,
doesn't really shy away from the whole, like, I'm really about that. It's something
yeah,
that goes
and
crazy. I'm totally with it.
yeah, and even in the documentary, he kind of kept that same tone too, and like even when before they even talked about the things that occurred, at least like that involved him that night, he even said like, for me to come into the NBA is like the greatest thing that ever happened. Like I'm just from the hood. Like I just play ball and I and I'm on the block. And like he said, the night that he got the call of getting drafted, like he was on the block with the whole hood, and he
Yeah.
celebrated it that night with everyone. They were smoking and drinking and shit. And he said like even when I was playing in the NBA, I was smoking weed. All I did was
Right.
play basketball, go to practice, and smoke weed. Like I didn't do anything else. So I mean, for him, it's kind of like he just embraced it because of the fact that like that's just who I am, and I'm not gonna hide it for anybody. And how he said like, I'm that type of person. Like if I'm with you all the way.
Right.
And we're a team, and somebody's coming for one of my teammates. I'm gonna be right there for them. I'm gonna be loyal. So I mean, it kind of helped him in a sense to continue with that. Because obviously the Spurs, they're one of those organizations where they love loyalty. Like Tim Duncan, longest longest NBA career on one team.
Does he
So
really have that? Does he have that title?
yeah, yeah. UD is going up next for it. With with what the Heat came out and said the other day, where they're not going to force him to retire. It's up to him when he does.
Wait, so how long was Tim Duncan with the Spurs?
I want to say it was like
Because Kobe was 20
20,
years with the
21.
Lakers, so Tim Duncan has to have been at least 21. Because Kobe was 20 years with the Lakers.
Here we go. Yeah, but Kobe got drafted by a different team,
Yeah, that's true.
so it technically like it doesn't count. He was with the Spurs his entire career was 19 years.
19 years, okay.
Yeah. So
So I
I
didn't.
think
Yeah, that's right. Kobe was drafted by Charlotte, but I didn't know that that disqualified him from that um, honor, if you will. Of being your whole career with one team.
yeah.
So
So he
UD's been with the Heat now. Yeah, he got drafted in what, 03, the same year as Wade, or before that.
I think it was the year. Well, UD went undrafted. He was a walk on.
Okay,
Um, and he did come on the same year as Dwayne Wade though. I'm trying to.
that's gonna be hard for UD to do that because like Kobe Bryant obviously came straight out of high school. Tim Duncan, I can't imagine he played many years in college.
Oh no, so
UD,
UD came in 02.
okay. So he's coming up on this will
Yeah, he's
be
at
his
19.
19th or 20th.
19th, this one. Because this is because it would have been 02, 03 that season coming in. So no, actually, it might be.
This is his
It
20th,
might
I
be.
think.
Yeah, it might be.
Wow. So he might get that this year. Shit.
Yeah, so I mean, that's one of those situations where the team has to really just show their loyalty to him, especially when he had the opportunity to go to the Mavericks and take the big payday, and he didn't. So I think this is like Pat Riley going back and like righting a wrong that he did with Dwayne Wade, as we know, and just taking care of him and letting him stay as long as he wants. Because he's already come out and said like he doesn't want a coaching position. Like
Yeah.
this is when he's done. He's done. So
Yeah, so UD's had a long basketball career because he went 4 years to Florida and then he played a season. Um, wait a second. No, he signed. Haslam signed with the Heat in '03.
yeah, but he was supposed to be a part of that '02 draft, and then I think what happened was that he ended up just being a walk on. He didn't get drafted. So,
Right.
but
So
that
no,
was
no,
like
no,
his
no,
draft
no, no.
year.
So he declared for the draft in 2002. Was not drafted, but he played a year in France.
Yeah.
So his NBA career, I don't think starts until 2003.
Yeah, so I mean, he's coming up on it. He's definitely
So
coming up on
he's.
it,
I
and
just count. I just count it right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. This is his 18th coming up. No,
yeah, so
excuse me. This is his 19th coming up. This is his
yes,
19th coming up. Yeah, he had a perfect field goal percentage in last season. Perfect field goal percentage. He shot 100% from the field.
dog. I hope they give him some playing time this year, a little bit more than last year.
I do
not
too.
just
Like
a
I feel like he didn't get in garbage time enough.
yeah.
Like I understand him not playing games that are close, but he only got in the game last year. Well, he only played it. He only played in one game. It was the final game of the season. Once the playoff spot was locked, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't see why they don't throw him. They don't throw
That
him in more in like garbage
that's
time. Why?
Yeah, that's the only thing that like I don't understand. Like I get it, regular games where, win or loss, a W or a L makes sense, but like the game's already over, bro, and it's pretty much determined at this point. Like
Do
you're
you
gonna
think?
throw in third strings, throw UD in, let him get some layups in or some rebounds just
I
to
was
get
gonna
some
say,
reps in.
do you think it's because even in garbage time, like they want to like look at guys who might have a future with the team, and we know like Udonis Haslam's future is solidified. Like he
Yeah,
doesn't need to
that's
prove
that's
anything.
That's for sure what it is, and especially the last few years, they've been experimenting with a lot of big guys. So they've been experimenting with a lot of forwards and centers and shit like that. So there really isn't a slot for him to do that a lot of the time. And in that one game that he was allowed to play, obviously at that point, like didn't really matter what you showed. Like their decision on you throughout the season is already made. So whatever was going to happen or what they were going to utilize you for going into off season, pretty much already determined by then.
I used to be kind of a hater, and well, some might say I'm a hater in general, but I used to be kind of a hater on the whole Udonis Haslam situation, and I would think that like are you frozen right now? Did you?
No, no,
Oh
no,
my god, dude, you
no.
look
I like
frozen.
focused in on some shit real quick and
I was like, what? Um, I used to be kind of a hater of the UD situation, thinking that like, what's the point of having him? Like, he's not doing anything for the team. Like, but when you think about it, like, name a team and tell me their 15th player on the roster and what they contribute to the team.
bro, I was gonna say something very similar to that I saw on Twitter the other day. Somebody was talking shit. Because first of all, like obviously somebody is super young where they're like, oh, how they were it was a reply to like the announcement about UD getting the contract. And it was just like a one of those like anon accounts where it was just like
Anime
random
profile
ass.
picture.
Yeah, like random ass profile picture, like, oh, who are these random ass guys getting contracts when you have, star players still not being signed yet and blah blah. And it's like people in the comments were like, bro, it's like this is how I know you're like 11 years old. Like, shut the hell up. So like I'm going further into it, and then somebody was having an argument later down in the replies. They were arguing with someone else about the fact that like why do teams or like why are the Miami Heat still doing this? Like what's the point of it?
Right.
It's pretty much just a waste of a roster spot and it's a waste of money. But the guy came back and told him like, bro, you don't understand. Like that's a veteran presence on a team, so he can be in the ear of these younger guys. And the guy was like, yeah, but what teams win championships like that? And dude literally listed the last like 4 or 5 years of teams that have won and named those players. And I was just like,
Bro,
it makes sense to me.
look at the guys that LeBron brings to whatever team he's playing. Like
Yeah. Like
that,
as much as I hate to say it, like on the year that they beat the Heat, you had Jared Dudley on the roster. As terrible as he is, he has experience.
yeah,
He has NBA
exactly.
experience,
That's the
and
perfect
I'd rather
example.
him talk. I'd rather him talk to a player and like teach a player how to play their role on an organization rather than just some random guy who's working with the team who's never touched a basketball in his life.
And you know what? Honestly, a guy like Udonis Haslam would be so much better in a role like that than a Dwayne Wade because Dwayne Wade is a great player, both naturally and because of the work he put in, but a large part of it is like natural ability. Same thing with
Yeah,
LeBron, with Kobe, with Jordan. Like, dude, these guys would make awful coaches. They would be
yeah,
horrible
definitely.
coaches because they'd basically just be like, it's like when the fucking Marlins hired Barry Bonds as their hitting coach. Like, yeah, the dude just saw the ball and like he saw the
Yeah, that's
baseball in a
it.
way that nobody else could. That's why he could hit it so well. Plus
Yeah.
the steroids, which allegedly, never proven, but you don't go from
No, but I mean,
you
you're
don't go
right
to an
though.
8.5 hat size without a little bit of. But no, but that's what I'm saying. Like maybe LeBron could be. I don't know, because
Not even,
LeBron,
bro. I'm not
yeah,
giving it to LeBron. I'm
but
not giving it to
definitely
LeBron
not
because of
like
those. those
Definitely not
calls that he's
Kobe.
made with his draft calls are always wrong, bro. They're
That's
always wrong.
true.
So I'll never want him to be a coach because like you're always gonna pick the wrong guy to take that last shot or the wrong guy to fill up that roster spot or whatever it is. Like
That's
he just
true.
has a track record of trying to be like a coach and trying to make decisions, and it never works, bro. Like
Right.
one thing I'll never forgive him for is convincing the Miami Heat to pick
Oh
what
my
was this
God,
guy's
yes.
name, bro?
Shabazz Napier.
Yeah, Shabazz Napier. Literally everyone was like, "Who?" They pick him. He's like, "Nah, trust me, this guy, he's gonna be lit." Where is he right now? Where is he right now, and what
I
has
don't
he done
know.
since he got drafted? Not a goddamn thing.
I'm actually gonna look it up right now. I'm actually gonna look it up because he fizzled out of the league very quickly. He is for sure playing right now overseas. Yep.
I'm trying to find it. He plays for Zenit St. Petersburg, and this
So
is
he was
definitely in like Germany or Russia or some shit. Yeah, in Russia.
one season with the Miami Heat, a first round draft pick, 24th overall. He was selected by the Hornets, but I guess the Miami Heat traded for him.
Yeah.
How was your
Or
first?
it might have been that year that like it might have been a year where like we had their pick. So like
Maybe. Well, it says selected by the Hornets.
okay, so
So
yeah,
I
we
don't know.
probably traded for it.
Regardless, he was picked number 24 overall. The Heat wanted him. The Heat thought he was worthy of a first round draft pick. Actually, I'm on Wikipedia. I'll read it right now, see what happened. He was selected by, yeah, he was selected by the Hornets and traded to the Heat. So the Heat had to have given up whatever pick they had, which was probably um, like the 31st overall pick or the 29th. I guess there's only 30 teams in the NBA, right? 30 teams.
Yeah.
So they must have had the 29th overall pick. They must have traded the 29th pick and something else to get Shabazz Napier, who was drafted 24. Um, but he played in his first season. He competed in the, okay, it says right here, signed to the Heat, 10 points a game in the Summer League. On December 13th, he was assigned to the Sioux Falls Skyforce. Is it normal for a first round draft pick to be playing in the D League or G League your first season, your very first season? Like you spent a first round draft pick and more to get this guy. And he can't be on the NBA roster year one. And that
Yeah.
was the year, that was 2014-15. LeBron was
Yeah, so
gone
LeBron
already.
left.
LeBron was
He
gone. The
he
Heat weren't
made the
even a good
decision and
team.
left.
Yeah. And the Heat weren't even good. So how is he
No,
not starting on the Miami Heat at that point? I don't, that like,
exactly.
anyway, the point is that, yeah, LeBron made that pick or like he was hyped for that pick, and poor Shabazz Napier, like, he really didn't do anything in the NBA. Bounced
Same
around
thing
to a
with
few teams. Now he's playing in Europe, in Russia.
s- but same thing with like Jordan with all those questionable picks, with Charlotte the
Yeah,
past
they
10 years or
stink.
whatever.
They stunk
Yeah,
when they
like
were
they
the
were
Charlotte
bad.
Bobcats. They stunk. Finally, they're like lower, like eight, like 6, 7, 8 seed is what they're kind of sitting at right
And
now.
and it's all courtesy to my dog, LaMelo Ball, legend. Oh man, he's gonna be amazing. I might get a LaMelo Ball jersey just for the culture because
Is
he's
D'Angelo
gonna
Ball
be.
right now playing for the Hornets summer league?
Yeah, he is, and apparently the front office is in love with him. Like they want to sign him.
I mean, he's been kind of, from what I've seen, doing well in the summer league. It seems like,
Bruh, he's balling.
bro. If
He's
he
balling,
starts,
hitting crucial threes.
if he starts, if he starts an NBA game this season, LeVar Ball is like incredible.
Yeah,
All the
he
shit that
snapped.
people talked about him, all the clowning people did, and I can't even lie. For a while I thought he was insane, and he is a little bit. But dude, if he puts 3 kids into the NBA, like, I need to know who else has done that, or if
Yeah,
it's ever happened. 3 brothers in the NBA is like a pretty big deal, especially
yeah,
considering like one of his sons, Lamelo, didn't even go play D1. That's a big deal in itself, and I think that might be a trend that becomes more prevalent. Guys skipping the year of
yeah.
college to go make, dude, these guys could go make 500 grand in Europe
Well,
or in Australia.
especially with that new especially with that new change from the NCAA where players aren't going to be you're not going to get in trouble for making money anymore. yeah, these kids are gonna do whatever they want. If playing overseas doesn't work, then they'll go back and go to college or whatever it
That's
is. Like
true.
a
Yeah,
lot of especially like high school kids now, they're picking up endorsements and shit like that, and getting agents like right away, so they can get their business side together early on, instead of like scrambling at the last minute and trying to figure it out, or like getting screwed over by an agent that's really just there to like prey on them and get them at the last second.
that's a good point. Yeah. So which the NCAA, I feel like part of the reason they did that. Well, I mean, they didn't really do it. It was a Supreme Court ruling. But it's better for them, I think, without even if they don't realize it, because yeah, I feel like more guys were going to consider going and just playing overseas for a year because I forget who it was. I wish I remembered his name. This was like a year or two ago that he did this. 2 years ago that he did this. Like one of the top rated high school players, and he went to Australia. His whole family went with him to Australia. Mom, dad, the siblings, they all went to Australia so he could play ball there for 1 year. Dude
Hmm.
was making at minimum 500,000. Like I think his salary from the team was 500,000 plus whatever endorsements he was getting. Like that's not really a lot to bring your whole family out with you to make 500 grand for 1 year and then just come back and get drafted and play in the NBA and start making millions. Like
Yeah, to be honest, especially if like so obviously like going to college is very important, and especially for guys like this, like God forbid you get hurt and you can't play anymore, like what is there to fall back on now? But at the same time, it's like it's also not for everyone, and a lot of guys, they go for their 1 to 2 years and then go to the NBA anyways and never finish school. So it's like you forcing them to go for like a year or two doesn't really do anything. Like you're not
especially
really
for the
saving.
guys, because there's a lot of guys in the who get drafted to the NBA who could have gotten drafted straight out of high school, and the only reason
Yeah.
they don't is because of the rule that says you have to be a year removed from high school. If you're a guy that at 17 or 18 years old would be like a top 10, top 15 pick in the NBA draft, or even top 20, it makes sense, I think, to skip college, go overseas, make a lot of money for just one season of basketball, not even a whole year if you
Yeah.
really think about it, because the seasons in these leagues overseas are probably like 6 months, 8 months long. So to make
Yeah.
500 grand for 8 months of work, you train before, you train after, you get ready for the draft. You're playing against grown men. I
Yeah.
would think the competition in some of these overseas leagues is probably better than it is at the NCAA level, where you're playing against only, you know, 18, 19 to 22, 23 year olds, versus you're
Uh-huh.
playing against somebody who's like in their late 20s, early 30s, a grown man, like doesn't give a shit that you're, somebody in America, probably, depending on which league you're playing in, like may have, come from a war torn country. Like that'll get you ready for the NBA playing against guys like that.
Facts. Facts. And like I mean, obviously this story is a little bit different, but it's still like, there's different roads to get to the NBA or to get where it is that you want in basketball. Like it doesn't have to be one way or no way at all. Like one thing that I kind of didn't like about that rule before, um, like for example, Sheck West, like now he's playing in Paris, but like, he wasn't
Check
eligible
West
for
the
the draft.
rapper?
Yeah, he's playing in Paris. He actually it in like
I didn't know he played
not
basketball.
enlisted. Yeah, he played high school ball with Mo Bamba because they're from the same hood. They played together. That's why he made the song Mo
Yeah,
Bamba.
okay, now
But
it's making sense.
yeah, so they played like travel ball and shit together, and obviously he just wasn't as good, but and he didn't end up going to the NBA or going to school for ball or anything like that. So what he ended up doing was just he started making music, and that was his way out. But then he kind of realized later on that like, yeah, I kind of want to continue playing ball. Like I know I'm nice. So he trained for a few months. He entered the draft. He ended up not getting drafted by anyone. I think it was this past season or like this past
Yeah,
draft.
the last
Um,
year, the 2020
yeah,
NBA
last
draft.
year. Yeah, 2020. He didn't get picked up, and now he's playing in Paris. So it just opens a lot of doors, especially for people like that. Like maybe going straight going straight there doesn't work out, but at least like when you're in high school and you're good in high school, you can start to prepare yourself and bring in those endorsements and shit like that, so you don't have to take a different route, or you don't have to just give up and think that that's it, it's over for you. You know what I'm saying? Like at least those endorsements will carry you and to different routes and leave those doors open, because a lot of guys, they just give up on the fact of basketball if they don't get drafted to a school, or they don't get drafted to the NBA, and because money thing, money reasons, they have to go work now because they can't just keep chasing the dream of basketball. So this, it opens a lot of doors for guys to go in, and now with the NBA giving that little D League check and all that, or the G League check. So I mean, it works out. I think it's I think the NCAA honestly only did it like how you said, just to save their ass and to still get quality players coming in instead of just taking the short route and going to the G League. But overall, it works out for everyone. So no one's gonna get left behind in this situation.
We had been doing so good with segues. Like, I don't know if you realize, we seamlessly transitioned from the Malice at the Palace documentary into Udonis Haslam, into uh what, and I don't even know how we got into like I just know that we've seamlessly transitioned throughout. So this is going to be a little bit of a not so seamless transition, but I've got it on my list of things to talk about. PJ Washington.
No, he's
Now,
sick.
actually, I don't. How much do you know about the situation, and can you fill me in? Because I know very little about it. I meant to look
Yeah,
into it before. Like, fill me in,
I,
please.
I I don't feel bad for him.
While you're doing that, I'm going to be listening to you. I'm gonna just refill this rosé if you don't mind.
I do not feel bad for him whatsoever. Whatsoever. Brittany Renner used to be with Lil Uzi, um, and it just didn't work out, whatever. Um, she later on came out in an interview saying that NBA players or like basketball players are the easiest to prey on because I want to get that quote. Hold on. I want to get it word for word
I think I
from her
remember
mouth.
that. I think I remember that quote. But like, if you would have asked me about that, I thought that Tiana Trump said that.
No. She said,
But I do remember somebody. I do remember somebody um, saying that. And like, Brittany Renner's like in her late 20s, isn't she? So she's talking about preying on
yeah,
young guys, because
yeah,
obviously
she's
NBA
older.
players enter the draft like, they get drafted, they're like 19, 20 years old, which there's somebody else we can talk about who's in that same situation that you might not like who it is that
She
I'm
said,
referring to.
here it goes. She said, this was a few years ago that she said it. She said, and I quote, fucking athlete, they're really dumb. They don't use condoms.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I don't remember. I didn't remember until you said it now who said it, but I remember that. Dude, don't they have like a
Yeah,
rookie symposium where they're like, use a condom. When you're done, tie it off and flush it down the toilet. We don't care what it does to the plumbing. These people will literally take your condom out of the trash can and like insert it into
yeah,
themselves.
they will. And they're he's just goofy, like knowing that that was out there well before you even got with her. Like, why would you not think that that would happen to you? Like, as good as she might make you feel, bro, it's obviously a game because she literally said this years before being with you. So I mean, it all ties together. It just makes sense. So now this whole thing, at like, what was it, 2 weeks after she gave birth, she filed for divorce without telling him,
So they're married?
and they were married. They got married, and 2 weeks after she gave birth, she filed for divorce without saying anything to him. I think he found out like through his lawyer, or like when her lawyer contacted his and whatever. And she does not let him see the kid, and now he has to pay, what is it, two hundred
Oh, I
thousand dollars a
saw that.
month in
Yes,
child support.
200,000 a month. That
Yeah,
doesn't even make sense.
until the kid is 18 years old, and the kid was literally just born.
That is, I love the he's just born. Like this could not have come at a worse time. The kid's 3 weeks old. He's got to pay two hundred
Yeah, like,
thousand dollars a month.
bro, and
Um,
like the thing is
bro.
like
So
what I'll
wait, so
never.
hold on. Wait a second. How much money does PJ Washington even make? Because I have
No
a
way.
few questions. Because that's $2.4 million per year. Per
Yeah, he for
year.
sure got finessed. He for sure got finessed. The contract. I mean,
Who's his
that
lawyer?
whole shit doesn't make sense. He signed a 4-year contract for 12 million.
Okay. Let's do some quick math here. Because that's $3 million a year. That's $3 million a year. If it's 12 years,
So
4 million,
basically
or is
half
it
his,
or is it
almost
12
half his
million a
check.
year?
No, it's 4 years. It's a 4-year, $12 million contract.
No, that's not half, dude. 200 grand a month is $2.4 million.
Oh, so yeah, she's taking
12
more than
million
half of his
divided by
contract
4 is
every year.
$3 million. He's left with
Yeah.
600 grand, and that's not
Yep.
even
He's
accounting
sick.
for taxes. Like this doesn't. This is very confusing to me. This basically means that she's getting his whole check.
Basically. And this
I
is just
saw
one
the
of those
200 grand a
cases
month.
where
I mean, obviously he's got endorsements too, but I mean, come on.
yeah, this is just one of those cases where like the dad just got screwed over, bro. Like he's obviously he wants to be with the kid, and for sure, like people are making fun of him for all these like Instagram posts and all the shit that he's putting up about the kid. That's 100% him trying to build a case and just trying to get his shit lowered, or trying to get visitation because she's keeping the kid from him. So obviously he's trying to build the case and appeal whatever this is right now. To show that he's not a deadbeat dad, that he shouldn't have to pay that much because who needs that much a month to take care of a child?
That's insane. I mean, bro, he doesn't even like. Even if he made $100 million a month, like 200 grand a month is ridiculous for child support. Like it just doesn't make any sense. But the math that we're doing doesn't even like that's insane. So he needs a lawyer ASAP, like a different lawyer, a new lawyer, a lawyer. I don't know. It sounds like he doesn't even have like he just like sounds like he didn't show up
He
to court.
showed
Like
up
he just
himself.
like it sounds like even he didn't go. Like nobody, like he didn't show up. He didn't send a lawyer. It sounded like just Brittany Renner and her lawyer showed up, told the judge, "This is what we want," and the judge was like, "Well, PJ Washington's not here to plead his case, so two
Yeah,
hundred
and, and
grand a
and
month."
just to put this into perspective, I it was because I saw it on Instagram the other day, but Kodak Black pays $4,000 a month in child support.
That's insane. He for sure makes more money than PJ Washington.
Exactly. And Kodak was complaining because Rick Ross makes more than him and was paying less in child support. So, it really just depends. You gotta have a good lawyer, bro. You gotta have a good lawyer. You
Hold
gotta
on, I have to read about
take
this
these
because this
situations
is
serious.
this is insane. PJ Washington told his 85,000 Twitter followers on Friday, "Just want to see my son." That's actually really sad. Like I love my son more than anything. Like that's really fucked up to read that. It's claimed that Washington will pay Renner $200,000 a month in child support for the next 18 years, according to an outlet called Hoops Bank. Okay, and there's no like supporting. Washington told his followers on Twitter to stop the cap. Yeah, there's no way he's paying. Yeah, Washington is set to earn 4.2 million in the 2021-22 season, rising to 7 million. Da da da. That means over the coming two seasons, he is set to make 14 million multi-year shoe deal with Nike. Yeah, I don't know, 200. Like it's weird because it's like it's such an it's so much per month that it seems unbelievable. But then when you look at what he makes or what he's expected to make over the next few years, it's like,
Yeah.
well, and I'm sure if he leaves the NBA, which at some point he's going to, he's not going to play in the NBA. Well, I mean, he could play in the NBA, I guess, for the next 18 years. He plays till he's 40. Other players have done it. I'm sure that number is going to be adjusted, but that's insane, man. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I I
Hey,
um
best of luck to him.
I hate to say it, but I know of it. Before I get into this, okay, I keep trying to say PJ Tucker. PJ Washington's 22. Brittany Renner is how old? Because this matters, I think. This matters, and this is gonna go
Yeah,
into the
she's like
point. This is gonna go into the point
29.
that I'm gonna make. She is 29. So she's 7 years older than he is. Who do we know who's dating an Instagram model
Jesus.
who's also 7 years older than he is? And by the way, is pregnant with his child. Who do we know? Does that sound familiar to you? Oh, don't get confused now.
Oh man, don't do this to me.
Oh my God, come on, you
No,
know who
I
I'm
don't think
talking
she's gonna
about.
do that to him.
Dude,
No, I don't think so.
listen.
If she does, I'd be sick for him. I'll block her on
Listen,
all social media.
PJ Washington and Brittany Renner were married. These two aren't
That's
even
true.
married. They're not even married.
Oh man. Oh man. I'm gonna have a talk with him. I'm gonna have to hit him in the DMs and be like, brother, listen to me.
Bro,
If you
it's
see
too
anything
late.
fishy happening, call a lawyer immediately.
Yeah, that's what, like, honestly, I hate to say it, but when a professional athlete impregnates a woman who he's been dating for a short period of time, who has a lot to gain from his fame and his fortune, like the moment these guys get these women pregnant,
It's
they
over.
they need to be calling lawyers, like, because
Facts.
it's no joke. Like, I mean, this might sound like we're being funny, but literally look at what's happening to P.J. Washington, and he was married here,
Yeah.
so that's not as bad because I feel like if you make the decision to get married, that's okay. You're kind of like agreeing to, what's yours is hers, no matter
Yeah.
what. But you're not even married to someone. You've been dating them for a not so long period of time.
At all. And
You
I think
have
that's what screwed him over too, is like, because obviously they must be including like some spousal support in
right.
that as well.
Could be
So
alimony too.
yeah, so he's just, I don't know. He fell for it, boy. She got boy, she must have got something good going on, because for her to be able to finesse him like that.
Let me ask you before we kind of like wrap this up. If you were in the NBA right now, because I feel like if I was in the NBA,
Tell you right now.
I would just like, I'd wake up in the morning and put a condom on. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, it would be
yeah.
part of like, I'd put the condom on before I put my socks on. If I was an
Facts.
NBA or NFL fan that was
Walking
making
around,
multi millions of dollars, these guys
bro.
are, these guys are young. They have insane money. A lot of them are really good looking. They're obviously in great physical shape. Like, dude,
Yeah.
they can walk out the door and it's like they're fighting off women.
Bro, I
Would you
am.
be able to handle it, do you think? Because it's easy for us regular Joes to
Oh yeah.
say, "Oh, dude, if I was in the NBA, I would be celibate, and I wouldn't even have sex till I was married to someone."
Oh no, no, no. See, that's not gonna happen. I'm definitely not gonna be celibate. I'm taking advantage of the fruits of my labor.
Okay,
But it's gonna be like how you said. Like, when my socks come on, I'm putting the condom on, and I'm having one on all day, cause just in case. And then depending on who it is that's asking me for my services, might even have to put the hands up and be like, hey, I ain't even got it on me right now. Can't
yeah,
hold you, bro.
I
I'm not
am.
doing it.
Honestly, I'd consider. If I was in the
I might even get
NBA.
my I might even get a vasectomy.
I was just gonna say that I would freeze my sperm and just get a vasectomy. That's it.
Might be worth it.
That's it. Because then you can't touch me. Now you can't get me.
Facts. Now I'm
I'm
free. I'm
I'm
shooting blanks.
untouchable now.
I'm shooting blanks right now.
And
I'm
then
shooting a cap gun.
when the right woman comes along,
Sprinkle it in her.
I've got the reserves to take care of that,
It's gonna drizzle a little bit.
Bro. These guys,
It's the
man,
only way.
it's a tale as old as time. Athletes getting trapped by these women. It's honestly
Facts.
like it's a shame to see it. Like, we're joking about it, but it really is no joke because when it's all said and done, if an athlete is taken advantage of by someone, that person will have taken and they'll have something that they never would have had before. Whereas
Uh
the
huh.
athlete who spent their whole life trying to get to this point to where they can make this kind of money, they'll have lost
Yep.
that. They'll have lost what they rightfully earned. And, not saying that they don't deserve to lose it because obviously your actions have consequences, but that's the way it is. Like, if somebody, and it doesn't have this isn't saying women taking advantage of athletes, like, there's
Yeah. It goes both ways.
business people can take advantage of athletes too, and it's not just
Yeah.
male athletes, it's anybody with money. A
Facts.
person taking advantage of someone with money, that person, you know they may only get a limited amount of money out of them, but that's money that they never would have seen and quite frankly didn't really deserve. Whereas
Mhm.
the athlete just was a victim of the circumstance and was taken advantage of. So it's pretty sad to see that, honestly.
Yeah. It really sucks. I mean, and it's one of those things. Also, like, you can even compare that to like certain athletes, like where maybe they sign a long contract a little bit too early in their career before they really performed well, or to the level of getting a higher pay, and then later on they're like, damn, like I kind of got finessed, like I just signed this low ass contract a few years ago and now I'm stuck with it until later, but like now I'm playing the best I've ever played.
Yeah,
And you can see it as like taking advantage of the player from like the organization side, because it's like you saw this, you knew this was going to come, you knew this guy was going to reach this level, and you kind of locked him in before it was too late.
yeah, I hear you. I mean, you're still
It's a
getting,
smart, it's like business wise it's smart, because obviously you want to pay as little as possible for the best quality,
and it's
but
not necessarily bad for the athlete either. Like like Scottie Pippen, for example, they talk about it a
hmm
lot in the Jordan documentary on Netflix. He took this; it was a long-term deal that guaranteed him
yeah,
X amount of money for X amount of years, and with that, he could take care of his family. Had he not taken that, hindsight is always 2020. Like,
exactly, god forbid you get injured and you can't get anything if
dude,
not.
same thing, what's happening now with Xavier Howard and the Miami Dolphins. Like, he
hmm
signed a contract that at the time made him the highest paid corner in the NFL, and it was a 5-year deal. It's a little bit different because of the whole NFL and nothing being guaranteed, whatnot, but people are saying, oh, like the Dolphins didn't necessarily take advantage of him, but times change, things change. He's the best
Exactly. And
at his
contracts for the NFL have
position.
changed
Yeah,
since then.
he's the best at his position. Certainly on the team, you can seriously make the argument he's the best corner in the NFL. Like, no
Uh-huh.
joke about
Well,
it. But
they were saying that pay wise, he's in the top six highest paid corners in the entire league. Tim and Byron Jones are 5 and 6.
right, Byron Jones makes more than he does,
Yeah, it's
or
like a
I don't know,
million more.
because they renegotiated his contract, so he's staying, which is
Well,
great news.
they didn't even renegotiate Xavier Howard's contract. And what he was saying too, which kind of made sense to me, after reading a little bit more into it, because right off the face of what they make the article seem, or like what they make the situation seem on headlines, like it looks like he's just like a little salty that he's not getting the money that maybe he thought he could at this
Right,
point in his career, or based on how he's playing. But realistically, what he was asking for was to get more guaranteed out of
yeah.
what his contract already was.
Which
So
the Dolphins should have, and I think that's what they ultimately agreed on. But the fact that
yeah,
they even let it get to the point that they did was a mistake by the Dolphins. Like, if all the man
facts.
wants is more guaranteed money, give it to him. Like, guarantee his whole contract. It's
Yeah,
$75 million. Like, in 2 years, cornerbacks are going to be making, if they're not already, I don't even know what the highest paid corner's getting right now, but in 2 years, these guys are going to be making $100 million. Like, they're going to be getting $100 million contracts. Like, every two
yeah, for
years,
sure.
the ceiling is going to get reset. Like, it's going to be
And I
higher and higher.
and I hope other players take note of that too. Like, just stepping up and standing up for yourself, because like that's exactly what Xavier Howard did. He said like behind the scenes he had talked to the organization about it, and they kind of just like pushed him away about it, and they were just like, we'll look into it, or we'll let you know. Nothing ever happened, so he straight up asked for a trade. I wanna be traded. I'm gonna show up so I get my money, but until I get traded, I'm not gonna play to my highest quality. I'm really not gonna care. I'm just gonna be
Right.
going through the motions. And then, obviously someone was like, you know what? Let's get this guy his money, please. Please. Because I mean for the Dolphins, that's just embarrassing, especially, we're coming off of a very long a very long period of being ass. And now we're finally starting to put those pieces together. This is the year where we're supposed to make a name for ourselves. We got some receivers, we got some receivers over the off season. We got Tua, who at least in the first preseason game, from what I saw, the accuracy is there, the power is still there. I mean, his throws look great. If he can keep up with the playbook, then we're good. So this is not something you want to deal with coming in, like
Yeah.
literally we're, what is it, 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks away from the season opener.
I was thinking, like, this is typical Dolphins. Like, here we go. Just when we're finally, like, it finally looks like the Dolphins are starting to, like, bring it together. Here we go. Our best defensive player at a very important position that we've historically struggled at since, like, the Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain years.
Yep.
here we go. We're about to lose our best defensive player and our best cornerback. So we are we're screwed. But thankfully they got it done. Xavier Howard will remain a Miami Dolphin, at least it seems like for
Thank
now.
God.
So um, I'm excited for the season, man. It's less than a month away. I mean, the home opener is like
Gee.
what 2-3 weeks away, or the opening game is like 2 or 3 weeks away, and then
Yeah.
the week after is the home opener. I think the home opener is
I
the 17th of October, is it? I mean, not October,
mm,
September,
I think it's like you're yeah, the 12th.
the
No,
12th,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The 19th. The 19th.
the 19th. The 19th is the home
Yeah.
opener. The 12th is the first game of the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that home
Um,
opener is going to be
it's gonna be
insane.
crazy.
I was
And it's against the
telling,
Bills.
like, this is gonna sound like counterintuitive to what to our normal philosophy, if you will, and everything we believe in. But we actually have to be on point for that first home game because, dude, people are gonna be drunk and fighting and like
Oh yeah.
acting
Facts.
up. Like, yeah,
Facts.
we actually have to be like, we have to go and like, obviously have a good time and have some drinks. You know, Kevin's gonna be doing his thing on the grill. Kevin actually was asking me this week, like, how many people are going to be there because like I'm ready to go. He was like, he's ready. I was like,
Yeah.
dude,
That.
there's going to be a few people there, but don't go crazy because he can cook for like 30 people, like
Yeah.
easy. I think it's easier for him to cook for 30 people than it is for 3 people.
Yeah, nah, but you're right. We have to, we got to be on point to an extent, just because. I mean, I've already experienced it a few times, like, going to like random things or whatever, like, nothing crazy, but like going to some random things and like I'm getting into it and it's just like it's not even me like provoking the situation. It's just like, I'm gonna stand my ground. Like if you're acting crazy and you're like coming at me or like, coming at the people around me, obviously I'm gonna have something to say or like, defend who I'm with. And it's just like I've already had like way too many situations like since things started opening back up, to the point where I'm just like, honestly don't even think like I want to leave the house for a while. Like I'd rather just be in the crib or like go visit people at their houses rather than like go out, because
Dude, yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
bro.
Like
People like
I can't go anywhere without like at least three things happening in the night.
I'm telling you, Hard Rock Stadium on September 19th is going to be a shit show. Like, people are going to be drunk out of their minds
Mhm.
walking into the stadium. Tap room is going to be slammed like we've never seen it before. People
Yep.
are going to just, like, dude, and to make it worse, our first game of the season is against the Patriots,
Yep.
divisional game. Our second game of the season, home opener, is against the Buffalo Bills. Divisional
Yep.
game
Though.
against a team that is the third favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. So it's a big game for Miami, not just because every game matters in the NFL, but like if Miami can beat the Buffalo Bills, who are one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl, or even if it's like a close game, people are just going to be going ape shit. It's
Yeah.
it's going to be crazy.
Definitely.
I'm predicting it 100%. Like, not even like, no joke. I plan to be, let me just say, not super drunk. I was not going to be sober, but I'm not going to
Bro.
be super drunk because like you're gonna, like, we're literally going to have to like be aware of our surroundings because
Facts.
people will be fighting, people will be just going crazy. It's going to be like nuts,
And
honestly.
that's why I'm glad. That's why I'm glad that Jets game is way deep into the season. Because if that was early on in the season, oh my God, I
Yeah,
probably wouldn't even go, to be honest. Like
I think it would be worse if it was the Jets as
for
opposed to
sure,
the Bills
for sure.
because,
I mean, you've experienced those Jets games, bro. People go insane, insane, and that's like normally.
and
Like
I feel
let's
like
go back
those
to
games
2019.
I feel like those games are even worse when one of the teams is ass and the Jets are
Yeah,
ass. So
yeah,
like, at least the Bills are good. The Dolphins are, so like, the Dolphins shouldn't feel bad. Like, Dolphins fans shouldn't feel bad about the Dolphins losing to the Bills because the Bills very well could be playing in the AFC Championship game, even the Super Bowl.
exactly.
Um, and the Bills, shouldn't feel bad because it's an away game against Miami and the Heat, and Miami's got this young team and the new quarterback, and they've got some new pieces, good defense. So like now the Jets, Jets fans come in and they know their team sucks. Like they're only there for one reason. Like whenever there's a
Exactly.
rivalry and one of the teams is a lot worse than the other, the fans of the shittier team are there for one reason. They're hoping for an
Yep.
upset, and if they don't get the upset, they're there to
They're
cause
gonna
problems.
exactly. That's why like this season, I have that shirt. I don't know if you remember that the sticker that people used to have like on their back windows. It was like the little boy pissing.
Oh my
I
god,
have
yeah.
I have the shirt of the little boy wearing the Dolphins t-shirt pissing on the Jets. And I was gonna wear it this year to the game, but now I'm like I'm second guessing that. It's like, yeah, it's probably not the best idea, at least not this season.
We got to see at least the Jets is like you said, like weeks into the season. So I think we'll get a pretty good idea of like with the Bills game and the other random home games that we have, like what the vibe is out there. Because I'm just thinking because of the pandemic, people not like going to the games because they were limited capacity, very limited
Yeah,
capacity. I mean, we're going from 15,000 fans to 65,000. We're like
yeah.
we're more than we're quadrupling the amount of people that are going to be at these stadiums,
Facts.
and I just think it's going to be like a shit show, honestly.
And and I've already had an incident happen like at my like where my season tickets are too. So it's just like,
I mean, it's a shit show regardless. Like before
yeah,
COVID, before people couldn't go to the stadium for an entire year, it was already pretty wild at Dolphins games. So
yeah.
like,
That's
that's what's kind of like nerve wracking about it.
yeah. I've already like specifically like with me and like my party, like we've gotten into it with someone else just because like someone buying season tickets off of someone and then they just they just don't know how to act. They're just acting stupid and shit. And then like obviously somebody's gonna say something to you because you just like you're just being obnoxious, and then but you can always point those people out. They just
Yeah,
don't give a shit, and they don't care about what happens because they don't have to. If they get kicked out, it doesn't mean anything to them. So whereas like for me, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna say something to you, but I want to keep my damn tickets too, bro. I'm not trying to have this
that's
be
true. We actually have to
the
be
last time I
careful
had
because
these tickets.
yeah, because we could lose season tickets. Like exactly, like if it's just some person there, um, they bought tickets off of Ticketmaster or whatever. Like they don't care. But as season ticket
Yeah,
holders, like we could lose our season tickets and not be able to go to the games, which would be a shame. Um, Obviously, first game of the season, but any game of the season, it would suck to lose those because they're not cheap and they're not easy to get, and
definitely not cheap.
they're not gonna be easier to get too if the Dolphins
Hell no.
become a good team. So
That's what I was
um,
gonna say, bro. If the Dolphins get better, bro, I don't know if I can have season tickets anymore because these shits are kind of expensive even for where I'm sitting at.
no, but but that's what I'm saying. Like I think they are expensive, especially now with the extra home games. The good thing is that like,
Yeah,
oh, what sucks is that we're paying a discounted rate right now because we rolled over last season into this season. If you think about it,
yeah.
so that kind of sucks. But next season we're gonna have one less home game, so I guess we'll save money there. But yeah, you're right. These shits are expensive, dude. Like,
Eventually, it's gonna get to within the next 2 years, everything will balance out, and we'll have to pay what the real rate is
right,
for
exactly.
these damn season tickets, and it's not gonna be pretty.
Yeah, after next season, I think. Well, next season is going to be a full normal year, but with 8 games as opposed to 9. Um, but you're right. No, yeah, like eventually, like it's gonna kick in. Like this is what it actually costs to have these tickets. Because
Yeah,
right now
and
we're paying for this season since last year. We've been paying
exactly.
for like 18 months. Um, at some point it's gonna kick in. Like, and dude, I have between Kevin and I, we have 4 tickets, so I'm paying for two, he's paying for two.
Yeah,
That's not, unless my income changes in the next couple of years, which thankfully it
facts.
might, but regardless of whether it does or doesn't, the price of these tickets is gonna change.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to weigh out and see if it's even gonna be worth it at
I
a certain
know,
point.
I know. It's I mean, it'll be cool because we're gonna bring people like, Miranda's not gonna go to every game, so I'll have an extra ticket. Kevin's brother, Kevin's brother has a baby on the way, so he's not gonna. go to every game either. So we'll
Yeah.
have like an extra ticket to like bring Jason, bring GC, ADV, guys like that. Um,
Mhm.
so it'll be fun. We're gonna have a good time. One thing for sure is we are going to we're gonna be tailgating. Kevin
Facts.
Kevin got his Durango back. I don't think he didn't have his Durango, the Dodge the SUV during the last season that we had tickets to. He had it for the first season, but the last season he
Mhm.
didn't. So he's got that back. So now we've got like the SUV to bring the cooler, the tent, his big ass speakers.
Yeah.
So we still got to figure out the details of like if we're gonna be in the orange lot, the yellow lot, what we're doing. But regardless, we're gonna make it a good time. So
No, sounds good. I gotta figure out and fit in the UM FSU game also.
that's here this year, isn't it? Or no?
Nah, it's up there.
Oh, that's right. You're going up there.
Yeah, I'm
When is
supposed to
that?
be going up. That's the problem. Let me look at it right now because I don't think it's actually gonna be possible.
It's not gonna be possible for you to go to the FSU game.
Yeah, because of scheduling. This game is on the. This game is. Where the hell is it? Oh, November. We're
November
looking
7th.
October. Oof, it is November 13th. Oh, so that's a Thursday game for us
Yeah,
then,
so that's
if
a home
if
game
I'm not
on
wrong.
Thursday.
And then yeah, so that's not bad at all actually. So I definitely would be able to make it up there. So yeah, I mean
Bro, go to the game
hopefully I'll be
Thursday
able to.
night and ride out to Tallahassee on Friday.
So that's what I have to figure out is if it's gonna be possible. Because Cass with work and then with me doing these interviews now, I gotta figure out what's gonna be happening. We're
Yeah,
gonna see if she
you,
can just get that Friday off or whatever, and we just go up then.
yeah,
Regardless though, the one thing that's gonna be getting in the way of that is like the class I'm doing right now. It's on Saturday morning, so I have to figure something else with that. Figure something out. I might have to do like a half day of class or something like, yo, I got something going on.
yeah.
I'll be in the first half of the class, but the second half, catch me,
Are
catch
your
me in the field, kid.
are your grandparents alive right now?
Nah.
If they've already passed away, you could kill them again
Oh, facts. I
to get
could
out
do
of
that
that
and just
class.
like, hey, I'm not gonna,
I've
I'm not
never
gonna make
done
it, bro.
that. That's Jason has done that before. Jason's done that to like go to a random
Yeah,
brunch. So you didn't
I
get you
remember
didn't
that.
get that idea from me, but um, just
Yeah, I'm
throwing
gonna
it out
have
there.
to. Yeah, I gotta figure it out because one of them is actually not even here, so I don't even know if I'm gonna be here if that works out. So I gotta figure all those details out. But I yeah, I'm excited because I definitely want to go to that this year. Now I have a reason to go up to Tally for once. I can go to the game, have somewhere to stay that's safe. So
That would
I'll
be
see what's going
fun.
on. I gotta check it out this weekend and see what's going on because I'm
I
going
hope
up
you
on
can make that
Thursday.
move.
Yeah, I'm going on Thursday, so I'm gonna check it out and see um like what kind of space is there because I'd have to stay with my sister. So I'm gonna check out how much room she has there and see if it even makes sense for me to do that.
Yeah.
So
Does she have an
because
apartment or
I
is she in a dorm?
no, she's in an apartment, but it's like one of those apartments that it's all like people going to the school. Like it's
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
like a 4 bedroom, and they all share the what's the name like the common area.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, like a normal
so
college
we
apartment. Yeah.
yeah, so we move her in on Friday. So and that's another thing. She has roommates and shit. So like I gotta
Right.
meet them and make sure everything's gonna be all right. Like hey guys, I'm not a weirdo. I'm just here to here to go to football games and tailgates with you. I'm the cool brother, bro. I'm not the police. I swear to God.
Oh man. Well, we started this podcast off talking about rowdy fans at a sporting event 17 years ago, and we
Facts.
finished it off talking about one particular rowdy fan who might be at the Miami FSU game in a couple of months. So
Hey,
we
we'll
come
see.
full
We'll see.
circle.
See how the cookie crumbles.
As of right now, this is still New Wave Sports Radio. The next time we record, this may be New Wave Podcast. We don't know. We're kind of switching things up a little bit. I don't know if it's come across in this episode. We talked about quite a bit of sports. and it'll probably stay that way. But we're trying to get back on the wagon, if you will. Get consistent, get serious about this, drop the content, give the people what they want. 114 episodes in, if you can believe it.
Jeez.
Feels like we're just starting though. Feels like we got a new lease on life. So we're trying to get back to the weekly drops. Maybe we'll do a little bit more than that. Who knows? But we're back, baby.
Yes, sir.
We are back. So until next week, everybody, stay wavy.